Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us for this presentation on understanding NIST 800-171 Requirement 3.1.6, and specifically as it applies to U.S. Department of Defense contractors. Today, we'll explore what this requirement means, how responsibilities are shared with Microsoft Government Cloud, or Government Community Cloud, and customer-specific implementation steps and what you need to know for assessments. Here's our focus for today for 3.1.6. We'll begin by clarifying what practice requirement 3.1.6 entails. Next, we'll delve into how the responsibilities are divided when using Microsoft GCC. Then we'll provide practical implementation tips, and we'll discuss the 800-171A assessment framework, review needed organizational procedures, outline assessment considerations, and finally list evidence required for successful audits. NIST 800-171 Practice Requirement 3.1.6 requires us to use non-privileged accounts or roles when accessing non-security functions. Remember, privileged accounts are system administrators. The control breaks down into two assessment statements. Non-security functions are identified. First, organizations must identify what constitutes a non-security function. Generally, typical user activities that do not involve system-wide changes or admin-type changes. These may be CUI accounts for business process functions that process, transmit, or store CUI. These are separated from any admin functions. 3.1.6b, users are required to use non-privileged accounts or roles when assessing or accessing non-security functions. Admin accounts should only be used when necessary, such as for configuration or patching, but never for routine work. This means system admins should have dedicated admin accounts for sensitive operations, but use other non-privileged accounts for general activities like emails, web browsing, or document editing. The goal is to reduce risk if a general account is compromised. And remember, the purpose here is minimizing risk from overprivileged access. This applies to all users, including admins. And the overall goal is to reduce risk if a general account is compromised. Examples of privileged versus non-privileged. To clarify, non-security functions are everyday business tasks, like using Office 365, browsing the web, sending or receiving emails, or collaborating in teams. These may be non-CUI accounts. Privileged or admin actions include installing software, changing firewall settings, or creating new user accounts. Only privileged accounts should perform privileged actions. All other accounts, by all users, even IT staff, should use non-privileged login. This applies even for non-CUI use. Organizational procedures include defining non-security functions in policies. Procedurally, organizations need a clear policy distinguishing between privileged and non-privileged actions, such as require administrative users to have separate non-privileged accounts. In your security policies and employee handbook, specify that system admins must have at least two accounts. One account for privileged duties and another for everyday use. Regularly review account usage. Be sure to establish regular audits to check accounts for compliance and to assure that all staff are trained on when and how to use each account type. For organizations using Microsoft GCC or other compliant cloud services, leverage built-in RBAC or role-based access control. Create 2 accounts for the admin staff, one for elevated permissions and one for standard use. Make sure you set the policy in Entra ID or Azure Active Directory. Make sure you enforce multi-factor authentication or MFA and use Microsoft Security Center to monitor account usage and to detect misuse, such as admin accounts being used for email. During an assessment for CMMC Level 2 certification, expect assessors to request your written security policy, or more specifically your access control policy, along with evidence of how accounts are structured and proof that accounts are actually being used as intended. This might include screenshots of account directories, screenshots of sign-in logs, evidence of regular reviews, or even employee training and attendance. Auditors may also check for exceptions and for their justifications and approvals. To satisfy requirement 3.1.6 in an assessment, you must provide documentation, usually in your security or your system security plan or SSP, and access control policies. This shows you have defined and enforced these controls. Account inventories or screenshots from Active Directory or Entra ID within GCC, as well as log files showing proper administrative account usage. These are common artifacts. Assessors will also want to see staff training records that highlight users' understanding of these requirements. In summary, requirement 3.1.6 is about rigorously limiting the use of privileged accounts and enforcing the use of non-privileged accounts for everyday tasks or for CUI processing. This control not only reduces risk, but it's also straightforward to implement, especially with tools like Microsoft GCC. The essential steps are documenting your approach, training your folks, and configuring your accounts and keeping good records. Thank you. This covers requirement 3.1.6. If you have questions, please ask now or contact me for more resources and guidance. Remember, good documentation and a clear understanding of roles are crucial to compliance and cybersecurity. Thank you.